the boards can decide on.
I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
I don't know.
Plan or number,
Yeah.
we want to have.
Okay.
We filed though for a plan of 45 million, so that would then change the project dimensions. I'd have to investigate. What
Yeah, I
you
know.
do at the
I
state
should have
level.
asked you that earlier. I apologize for putting you on the spot. It just came to me that
Yeah,
I'm
that's
wondering how that works. The state would only be too happy to give us less money.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know specifically.
It's unique because of this new. Normally,
Because
you
it's
have
backwards.
referendums already
It's
passed,
backwards.
right? So now
Yeah.
you don't have it. But I would imagine that at the end of the day, whatever the town voters approved would be the ultimate number the state would look at.
Yes, indeed. Could be amended.
All right, so this plan that you were going to forward is the plan to close to rehab as new 2 elementary schools.
No, it is to renovate as new the Lily B. Haynes School. That's the plan that is being filed by the state because that's where the reimbursement, the 43%, applies to. The Flanders component is not part of that filing.
Just to 1.5.
A question too about the process. A little bit of discomfort saying yes to something like this tonight because of it's not something that's been done very often or really before last year ever. So the question is, if we're looking at somewhere around November 15th, when is the plan to present to the boards, selectmen and finance and so forth like that? Do you have an agenda for that yet?
If you approve this tonight, that's the next step to build that timeline. In my mind, and I would not want to be held to this, but August would be some presentations. I think Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance, continued discussions in September, maybe 2 community forums between now and the 1st of October. That timeline would now be developed if you, in fact, approve this.
I think a real critical thing is to make sure the community is very comfortable knowing what the nuts and bolts of the plan are. And that's, what we do hear a lot now, or I'm hearing from people is there's a plan out there, but there's not a lot of specificity to it, and there's a lot of discomfort of saying, as we've started, we've heard that there's a petition, people saying don't move. I don't think they know what's really out there. So I think every effort, during the summer, if things are, at least on your website, it's hard during the summer for people to get to meetings because they're all traveling, but everybody hits their computer every day. Maybe even a Facebook site or something where you're getting information from the source that's saying this is where we stand, and that shouldn't be too hard to set up. Something where on a social media basis people can look, and then they can ask a question. You can even ask a question. I think we need to get more information from whatever source possible out to the community over the summer. So.
And Kevin, that is the exact next step. If you as the board do not pass this resolution tonight, we're waiting a whole other year for this plan or something else. So, and that would have to be discussed further. But again, all this is doing is providing an opportunity. That's all it's doing. So we're not approving a plan. We're not voting on a plan. It's just providing an opportunity. That's all you're doing this evening. At any point, the plug could be pulled.
But isn't it true then that the only plan that could take advantage, if we pass this tonight, the only plan that could take advantage of the 43% this year would be the Haynes-Flanders project? There's no other alternative that can take advantage of that money, correct? That reimbursement?
No.
So
I believe it's just
you're
Haynes.
correct, yeah.
Pardon me?
It's just Haynes.
That's the plan that's being submitted to the state.
And a
little bit for Flanders.
Right.
So, and there's been talk of other plans, and I know there's a lot of interest in other alternatives that might be looked at. This would give this particular plan the advantage that this is the only plan that would get that 43%. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
So no other plan would have that advantage.
There is no other plan.
There is no other plan.
Yeah.
But if there were another plan, it would not have.
It has to go through the Board of
Right.
Education to have a plan, and this is their plan. So we can't, we all have a plan in our head, but this is the plan the Board of Education is presenting. But we are not endorsing that tonight. If we were endorsing that, that might be a different vote, and it would certainly be different questions tonight too. So
I understand.
we are just enabling the process to continue so that we can get the information to the public and then make an informed decision.
Exactly.
Let me follow up on that, if that's okay. When are we going to know the rates for reimbursement for next year? When does the state, do you know, does anyone know when the state will?
I think maybe after June 30th. That's the filing date for this fiscal year. So probably after that date, new rates would be set. I don't know the exact month or time frame.
Sounds right. I think we found out
assume
last summer about this rate that we're on now.
That does sound about right.
So even if we go forward with this and then the rates come out and they're about the same, then the pressure's off for reimbursement, unless, if it goes down, we'll know.
Yes.
We're not bound by this at all. Like you said,
you're not bound by anything with all you're doing, again, is providing an opportunity to continue the discussions.
Is there any cost in this? Is there any cost in state filing fees? Is there anything?
No, there's no
legal fees.
There's no cost.
No.
Mr. Ritter is here this
for
evening.
for every minute that goes by.
That's the only and the
For 15
work,
minutes.
obviously.
But are we talking about a lot of legal? If we go forward and then the board that comes back here and we have some reservations and stuff like that, it doesn't go forward. We're going to lose out on a lot of legal fees.
No, there's no filing fees with the State Construction Grants Division.
And lastly, if you have two rates in there, so you spell out what's for Flanders and what's for Lily B. If you wanted to change that balance, that's not allowed, correct?
To my knowledge, yeah.
If you decided you wanted to put more into Flanders, less into Lily B, that's not going to be allowed as part of this resolution?
Again,
that's the resolution we're
I think
passing.
ultimately it's
That's what I'm asking.
whatever
That's what
passes
it-
the
Can't change our
referendum will be
resolution.
what's telling. But I think for the state, it's still the same dollar amount. So for them, but you guys, the voters ultimately pick what the project's going to look like and how much you're going to spend, not this resolution.
So I guess my question is, if this goes back through the process this year, and after going through our board and stuff, that is decided to change the balance between what goes to the Atlantic Center and what goes to Flanders or whatever, and other school, whatever, are we locked into the 45 and then 1.5 million for Flanders, that's it? Or can it be written such that it's to be put into both schools so the total could be 46? Or would the breakdown of where it goes is not necessarily have to be determined by this document here?
I think.
Can it be written more generic?
It's a plan. It's a specific plan.
Identified space standards
And my understanding, Mark, is none of the state money would go toward the 1.5 million we use for Flanders anyway. Those are our dollars. We get no state reimbursement for Flanders because we're not doing anything that approaches the level at which we'd be reimbursed, correct?
I don't know if that's
security.
true.
There's some
There's
security money.
Security, they said some.
Yeah.
there might have been
But not
a few small
But it's not
items in that bill
a
that
significant
no,
sum
there's
of money.
no. We would be filing separately
Yeah.
for reimbursement in that sense.
Yeah.
And if we're resolving not to exceed a certain amount, that's our resolution. Somebody can't go back and change what we've resolved to do. I wouldn't think. Yeah.
Any other questions for Mr. Newton or Mr. Ritter? Or we can at least read the resolution into the record.
Read the following resolution. Whereas the East Lyme Board of Education has voted to approve a plan to renovate as new the Lily B. Haynes School facility for a total estimated cost of $45,060,609 and to refurbish selected components of Flanders School in an amount not to exceed $1,500,000 the projects. And whereas the Board of Selectmen intends to submit the projects to the town voters at a town meeting and referendum for approval or disapproval of the project costs and financing thereof. And whereas pursuant to the charter of the town, the Board of Selectmen is the legislative body of the town except as otherwise provided in the charter. Now, therefore, be it resolved that subject to the approval of the project costs and financing thereof by the town boards and commissions of cognizance, the Board of Selectmen declares that it will schedule and prepare a town meeting to discuss the projects and a referendum vote to approve or disapprove the projects to occur on or before November 15th, 2016. Further resolved that the Board of Selectmen acknowledges that the Town Building Committee, which has been established by ordinance as instructed by the Board of Education, is empowered to obtain outline plans and cost estimates for school facilities, including schematic drawings for additions, alterations, and major repairs to existing school facilities, including such furnishings and equipment as may be required. Further resolved that the Board of Selectmen authorizes the East Lyme Board of Education or the Superintendent of Schools to file the notice of the proposed projects with the State of Connecticut. Further resolved that the East Lyme Board of Education is authorized to file an application for a school construction grant with the Commissioner of Education of the State of Connecticut by no later than June 30, 2016, and to accept or reject such grant for the town, which application shall include, but not limited to, 1 copy of the educational specifications for the projects as approved by the Board of Education and 1 certified copy of this resolution adopted by the Board of Selectmen.
That's the resolution. Is there a second? Is
I will
there-
second for the purpose of further discussion.
Thank you, Mrs. Hardy. Further discussion.
I would feel a little more comfortable if I knew what we were losing in terms of not doing the project this year versus extending it another year. There's a lot of public discussion about this still, and I think as a board we want to try to do what's in the best interest of the entire community. Without knowing the loss of money that we would incur in reimbursement cost, I think we could say that it might be somewhat irresponsible on our part not to put this to the voters. We're going to have this as a question on the regular fall election, so there's
More than likely, it will be that
so
day.
there's no additional cost to have the vote at that time. It's not a special election. It can serve as a referendum question for the public to weigh in on, and if it doesn't pass, then that's the end of it for this year.
I will just like to add, there will be some additional costs because we're going to need a 4th district, if you will, people who don't vote here but own property here. And so we're going to need a whole lot of volunteers, of course, not volunteers, but paid pollsters, and therefore all the other things that go along with it. There'll be some added costs, but not like, and to your point, not like a typical $8,000 cost for a referendum. Agreed. But just to
Well,
clarify
I'm
that.
going to vote on this. I don't feel I have a conflict of interest. I don't stand to benefit any more than any other taxpayer in town. So I'm prepared to vote on the issue.
And I'll just add that if this goes forward, it still comes back before this commission and this commission at the time, since we don't have a plan in front of us.
Exactly.
Doesn't
We
feel
have
it's
to bring
appropriate.
A plan back to you to vote on.
Right, so it could be, there's many more hurdles to get over.
Correct.
We've just seen a plan, we have not seen a formal plan.
You've not seen a formal plan.
We've given you some questions, but we really haven't discussed it, besides for questions back from a question-answer period.
Correct.
So I guess this just locks us in if we do go forward with this. That's all it's doing for state reimbursement. That's all this is doing.
That's all
Correct.
this is doing.
This is
Keeps-
not, this
keeps
is,
the
we
ball
are not
moving.
condoning this project.
Correct.
This is just,
That would
if
be a
this goes
different vote.
forward, which will probably go through public, you were talking about public presentations and stuff like
forums.
community
Got it, yep.
forums. It then comes before us, then it goes to the Board of Finance, right?
Exactly.
Then town meeting,
Town meeting.
and then it goes to
7
referendum,
to
right.
14 days after that.
potentially referendum. So there's still many steps that's got to go forward. While it's a little awkward doing this, we'll have a more thorough discussion on the project, I assume, in the future.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was obvious by the hesitation on the board. I personally, I understand the rationale behind this. I am so appreciative of the time that the Board of Ed has put in. This has been a very difficult and long process. On the other hand, I do feel there's so much feeling out there that I fear being locked into something. So I suppose, I'm very torn on this.
Well, again, you're not by no means locked into anything. I think that's a message we need to continue to send out, because this is not locking us, the town of East Lyme, into any elementary school project plan.
Sure.
Like I said, I have some degree of discomfort with this because it's something that's, totally new, and we're saying, let's see if. But I'm a little more understanding of it and willing to see it go forward, because then we do get the chance to see a detailed plan. And at that point in time, if we don't think it's right, we'll say no.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm comfortable about with this, is we can still say no and make sure that, what we hear during the summer and the feedback we get indicates that the detailed plan is not what we think is in the best interest of our children, our teachers, our townspeople, everybody will still be able to say no and not move it forward.
That's correct.
So.
That it's
Okay.
up to the community and up to you.
Thank you.
Now, actually, we don't have until November because we have to have all of the ballots to the state
60 days in advance.
shortly after Labor Day.
Right.
And
September 7th.
And the question has to be on there phrased exactly.
Correct.
And if we are going to have 4 districts, that has to be specified also.
This will
So actually, we don't have.
this will
till
come to the
November.
boards in August.
Mm-hmm. That's the plan.
If it moves forward. I'd comment, Mr. Noon, you walked into this one. We're a couple years down the line here, and I applaud you for your concentration on this and trying to do what's best for the town. I thank you for your service to the town. I know the Board of Education values all the effort you're putting into this, and our entire community has to as well. You're doing your darn best, and this is a very difficult subject, whether you were in that job for 20 years or coming on to a project that was halfway through and not quite had all its wheels on the track. So it's always a difficult subject. It's always a difficult place to be. I'll tell you, we have great Board of Ed members here tonight. I think the Board of Ed has a lot of work to do to get the information to the public and turn what may be perceived as a negative project to a positive, that we're going to be investing into the schools of the future. I think you have a lot of work to do, because there is hesitation up here now, and all we're talking about is a resolution to keep it going. There's a lot more coming up. So, I know you know that. I know this is more just the minutia of getting the paperwork done, so you can get the message to the public. You have a lot of work to do on that. So, roll up your sleeves and get busy. We'll call for a vote, and we'll do that. So we have a resolution on the table. It's been seconded.
Could I just add one more thing?
Hey, sure?
Just, if this goes forward, just my only advice is, as you're going forward, we need to make sure that the plan is what's in our needs, not just necessarily what we need to do to get the state to reimburse us money.
Yeah. Well said.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. Further comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed.
I'm opposed.
Okay. 4-2. Okay. Motion passes, and like I said, roll up your sleeves and get busy, man, because September 7th, we got to be all done. All said and done, which means, the boards and commissions, August, Board of Finance, and that's assuming both boards only require one meeting.
Yeah.
And if not, they're going to have to do special meetings, bang, 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 every night
Yeah, because
kind
we're
of
only
thing.
scheduled to meet once
I would
July and August. I
think you'd
suspect we'll meet more.
I would think you probably need some public hearings before then, even though it's the middle of this is a beach community, a summer community, a traveling community, and somehow we're going to have to do this, I think, at the dead of the summer, too, because it's going to be all wrapped up and done by a week after Labor Day.
Agreed. And maybe we use July for another informational session to come and present additional information, answer additional questions, and just continue the discussions.
Yeah,
So-
there's a bit of apathy in the community, in the world. It's great to have so many people out here tonight at town meeting. I said it earlier. It was very encouraging to see, standing room only at a town meeting. But I know when prior school projects came about, there was community conversation that was widespread and people knew what the details were. And it's not because you haven't had informational sessions. It's not because it's not on your website, because it is. It's not because you haven't been to, God, we have the informational session and you've been everywhere talking about it. So, but we're going to ramp it up. Okay. Congratulations to the Board of Ed. Best of luck before June 30th.
Thank you very much.
Paperwork in. You have another, no, you don't have another item.
No.
All set. Thank you all. Next on the agenda, we go to 2A, and that's the discussion, possible action of the Flanders Fire Department engine replacement. Discussion, what's your pleasure?
So what are we being asked to do at this stage? Anything, or? Well,
We could-
I mean, we had the presentation.
We had a presentation. They're in need of a pumper truck.
Yeah, I know that, but do we have a motion to, I mean,
We
what are
could-
we being asked to do at this stage?
To approve, well, we can create a resolution or a motion to approve a fire truck. I don't think you can approve two. It's because there's different years, right? And I mean, if we couldn't approve now for something that wouldn't even be purchased or money wouldn't be spent for 18 months from now. This is our finance director, Hannah Johnson.
So if we are going to bond the fire apparatus, we would need bonding. If we're going to bond the fire apparatus, we would need to have bonding resolutions similar to for the road work that we had earlier this evening. If it was, if the town wanted to make a plan to purchase one in the upcoming 16-17 year and then a second one in the 17-18 fiscal year, we could have bond counsel craft it in such a manner that we would be able to do that. And it would be specific.
We're about to go into selling bonds or offering bonds into the marketplace in the next couple of days, I believe, right?
June 28th.
Correct. So it's too late for that anyway. So would we be
Correct.
doing short-term financing until next year's bonding anyway?
We would have to craft that, yes.
Okay. So here's my recommendation. Since this will be a loan, we'll be doing a short-term loan to get us to June 28, 2017, where we'll be going to the bond market to sell bonds. My recommendation would be to at least consider one truck right now to replace 22.
That first one that's the
Yeah.
demo truck that's being
Being
on
built,
spec.
right. In the meantime, in the next, and we don't have to wait a year from now. We can wait. Let the study come out. We'll feel more comfortable. It's the reason why we're spending that money is to have a study, have an independent look at all our equipment in our force, in our hierarchy, and how we manage. Let that come out, and then evaluate the need for a second. And so this time next year we might be bonding for two, if that is the need, and if that's the will of the people.
Is the delivery date of the spec truck this year?
October, November.
Yeah.
September, October.
So it would be very soon.
And do we still
3 or
get the
4
price
months.
break if we just order one now? We decide to do that. Do we still get the price
That
break?
was the presentation details.
Yeah.
Yes.
We would,
Yes.
if later on.
We make a decision on the second one within the next 12 months. We
12
would
months.
more than likely get probably much less than that. Because we couldn't do it 12 months from now because then we'd miss the next bonding package. So we'd probably do it 6 or
So
9
we could
months.
stagger it. We don't have to do both
Yes.
right now.
So my recommendation is to perhaps consider purchasing the one that's being made right now, the demo model.
So do we have to have a,
Yeah, should we,
Well, we don't have a resolution, and the resolution should
would we need Attorney
have-
O'Connell to prepare a
have some
resolution?
Yeah, I would-
legal.
I think that would be better.
Or bond counsel or someone to prepare a resolution?
Could
for
we
us?
have a letter of intent voted on tonight?
We don't even have to do that, maybe. Maybe we should, well, let's see what Mr. O'Connell
I
says.
don't think you can commit yourselves to a particular course of action and spend a certain amount of dollars unless you've appropriated those dollars for that purpose. And as I understand it, you've not appropriated any dollars yet. So I suspect the resolution that you would be acting upon would be an appropriation resolution, either a bonding resolution or something similar to that.
So you'd have to craft one.
Yes.
Okay. So we would charge you to go craft one.
Okay.
And then we'll get you the details between now and 2 weeks from now. How's that? In the meantime, I would also ask you and suggest, even though we'll have a prepared resolution, that you bring us that information on the specs of other companies, comparative quotes, and anything else we ask for. Maybe the price of what we get for the old truck that was part of it.
Yeah.
Other companies, old truck, and there was something else. Warranty details. Warranty details. Thank you. And so we'll probably have a meeting 2 weeks from now. We usually do.
3 weeks from now.
3 weeks from now?
Because it's 5
Because
weeks.
this is,
5 weeks in June.
okay.
Remember, we had to.
So July
find an
1st,
extra
I believe, is
payroll.
our meeting. Okay? Then July 8th would be Board of Finance. July 6th?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
2 days after the 4th, which is a Monday.
Okay, July 6th. 7 days after that, Board of Finance. 7 days after that, town meeting. Mr. O'Connell or Mrs. Johnson, is there an issue where this was not listed in our capital plan for this current year, but it was listed for next year? But we have an emergency situation where a truck is no longer certifiable and usable, and we have an emergency situation?
The fact that it was not listed in your capital plan does not stop you from considering a request for a special appropriation, especially in the circumstances where the public safety is called into question.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on, and we'll look forward to that in July. Appropriate and transfer $1,309 Flanders Fire Department SCBA gear. Do you gentlemen have details on this? I wouldn't say another presentation. I think we've had enough of those. But you folks applied for a federal grant and you received one, and it's a significant one, and I applaud you for your action.
Yeah, and I won't take credit as much as I would like to. Bill actually wrote it and got it, and actually this is his second or third attempt at it, and he was finally approved by the federal government. It basically gave the town $195,000, roughly, give or take a little bit, to replace the aging self-contained breathing apparatus, the bottles that we wear on our back, the SCBAs. What I had been doing in previous budgets, we were replacing the ones that expire. A pack itself, it can only last, as of this year or last year, 20 years. And the bottles themselves can only last for 15. Not that makes a lot of sense to me, but somebody
It's
like
like the hot dogs and the rolls.
That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Right.
So what was having to get replaced were bottles. I think if you were to look in the capital improvement or in my budget for this year, you'll find bottle replacement in there. We're not going to be doing that since we have brand new ones. So that's if you were to have looked, if we went out and spent and bought brand new piece by piece that we were attempting to do, you're looking at $257,000 roughly to actually replace it. That's what the total would have been. There's a definitely difference between $195,000 and $257,000, and all that money was basically concessions by either the dealer or the manufacturer. So that's